Alright, let's start to solve this linear inequality. And here we are given 5 plus 6x is less than 41. So we're going to use the addition principle and the multiplication principle. So let's start by using the addition principle, and which means we're going to add the same number to both sides of the inequality. I'm going to choose negative 5. Why negative 5? Because if I add 5 to negative 5, this becomes 0. But if I do this, I have to also add negative 5 on the right side. So here, if I finish this first step, 5 minus negative 5 is 0, plus 6x is less than 41 minus 5 is 36, right? So 41 minus 5 is 36. So this is called the addition principle. Now I'm going to use the multiplication principle, which I will either multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 6, which is 1 over 6, or I can divide both sides by 6. So let's go ahead and divide both sides by 6. And because 6 is positive, I will not flip the symbol. If 6 was negative 6, then I would have to flip the symbol. So 6 by 6 is 1, so I have 1x is less than 36 divided by 6 is 6. So we don't have to put the 1, so just write x less than 6. If the question had, they ask you to draw the graph, you would draw the real number line. This is minus infinity plus infinity. This is your 0. And 6 is about here. Since this is less than, x is less than 6, so we're going to highlight everything under 6, to the left of 6. Now 6 is not, because it's less than 6, it's not equal to 6, so we can either put an open circle. An open circle means 6 is not part of the solution, but everything less than 6 is the solution. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Complete the equation to the right of the equal sign to illustrate the associative property of addition. So let's talk about the associative property of addition. We have A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. With the associative property, all we do is switch the position of the parentheses. So notice that we have the same order of letters or numbers, A, B, C, A, B, C. The only thing I did to apply the associative property is to have parentheses around the first two terms, and here parentheses around the last two terms. So this is all about the associative property. So in our exercise here, all I have to do is switch the order of the parentheses and have the parentheses around C plus 4. Okay? So I will have the parentheses here around C plus 4. So all I did, I switched the order of the parentheses. I kept the same order of BC4, BC4, only the positions of the parentheses have been altered. Okay? Let's go to the next slide. Remove parentheses and simplify. Most students, they either multiply by the first term, forget about multiplying by the second term, or they don't multiply with a negative sign. So we have to distribute the negative 2. We don't distribute the 2, we got to distribute the negative 2. So let me write over here, we have a 4r plus 8s. Now, negative 2 times 3r is negative 6r. And negative 2 times negative 5x. So negative times negative is positive. 2 times 5 is 10. And then s. So this is how we simplify the parentheses, or we remove the parentheses. Now we're going to call these two like terms because they have the same variable. We call them like terms, and these are the ones that we can combine. Same for 8s and 10s. They are called like term. Those we can combine. And when combining like terms, you just combine their coefficients. The coefficient of 4r is 4. The coefficient of r is negative 6. So 4 minus 6 is negative 2r. And then 8s plus 10s is 18s. This is the final answer because these two terms are unlike terms. We cannot combine them. Remember, definition of like terms means they have the same variables. In this case, this is r, this is s. They are different variables. We cannot combine them. We only combine 8s and 10s since they have the same variable. We add the coefficients, a plus 10. Here we have 4 minus 6. So these are opposite sign. We subtract. 4 minus 6 is negative 2 because 6 is more negative. Negative 2r, and this is the final answer. Use the distributive law to factor the following. Check by multiplying. So notice we have 3x, 3 times x, 27 is 3 times 3 times 3, 18 is 2 times 3 times 3, y. So remember, I just factored each term. 3x is just 3 times x. 27, 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27. 18 is 2 times 3, 6. 6 times 3, 18y. Now I just look for the common factor. Notice here the only common factor is 3. So there is 3 everywhere. Nothing else is common other than 3. So now I want to factor. So I just 3 outside, open 2 parentheses. What's left from the first term? X. What's left from the second term? 9. And what's left from the third term? 6y. And this is the final answer. To check by multiplying, I go back and redistribute again. 3x, 27, 3 times 6y, 18y. And you see I got back to the original. This is how you check your answer if it's correct. But factoring is taking the common factor outside, opening 2 parentheses, and then find out what is left from each term. You're going to need to put, since you have 3 terms, you have to have 3 terms inside the parentheses so that you can go back and get the given answer, given question. Solve and check. Here we have 2 over 5 t minus 1 equals 5. Every time they ask you to solve, you need to have the final answer written as t equals some numerical number. Okay? So solve means you have to isolate x. Solve means isolate t in this case. Isolate t in this case. That's what solve means. Check, you can substitute the value of t and in the given equation and see if it's a true statement, satisfies the given conditions. Okay, how do we solve this equation? The best way is to start by the addition principle. We add the opposite of 1 or opposite of negative 1, which is 1, to both sides of the equation. So here, in order to move this negative 1 to the right side of the equation, we have to add its opposite. And this becomes 2 over 5 t. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. 5 plus 1 is 6. Okay? So we start by applying the addition principle and adding the same number to both sides of the equation. That's what we call the addition principle. Now we're going to apply the multiplication principle to get rid of this 2/5. I just want t by itself. The best way is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 2/5, which is 5/2. So multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 2/5, which is 5/2. Why? Because if you multiply a number by its reciprocal, that's give you 1, because 10 over 10 is 1. So now we have t by itself. Same here, 6 times 5, 30 over 2, 15. 15 is the final answer, right? Because 30 over 2 is 15. Let's go ahead and check. 2 over 5, replace t by 15, minus 1, is it equal to 5? If it's equal to 5, then yes, the answer is correct. So notice that we can always multiply straight across, but 15 divided by 5, we can simplify. 15 by 5 is 3, 5 by 5 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5, so that's good. That's how you check. So substituting 15 in the original equation, we came up with a true statement. That means the work is correct, and 15 is a solution of this given equation. Let's multiply. Now some students would multiply 2 times b and leave the negative 5, something like this. This is definitely wrong. The 2 should be multiplied also by negative 5. So that answer would be 2b minus 10. That's the correct answer. You need to distribute 2 to both terms inside the parentheses. Solve for the indicated letter. Okay, so now we need to isolate m. M is here. We want m by itself. We want to get rid of the 6, get rid of the minus sign. So let's go ahead and work this problem. N equals 6 minus m. So I want to isolate m. I want m by itself. So let's use the addition principle, add negative 6 to both sides. N minus 6 equals 6 minus 6 is 0, negative m. Now I don't want negative m. I want m by itself. See, the question is solve for m. The question is solve for m. So now how do I get rid of this? It's a negative 1m, right? When you don't have anything, it's a negative 1. So let's go ahead and multiply by negative 1 both sides of the equation. What happens if I multiply by negative 1 here? So negative 1 times negative 1 becomes positive 1. So this is how I got m. Negative times negative is positive. On this side, I have to distribute the negative 1. So this is negative n. Negative 1 times negative 6 is plus 6. So you can either write the final answer as negative n plus 6, or you can write it as 6 minus n. So either way is correct. Either answer is correct. So this is how we solve for m. We just move the 6 to the left by adding negative 6 to both sides, and then we either divide by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1 to get the final answer. So the final answer here is m equals 6 minus n, or negative n plus 6. Determine whether 23 is a solution of the equation. Now all we have to do, substitute 23 here. 23 plus 16, is it equal to 38? Well, 23 plus 16 is 39. Does not equal to 38, so the answer is no. 23 is not a solution. What is the solution? Let's go with it again. Let's find the solution here, the correct solution. Here we only have to use the addition principle. Subtract 16 from both sides. So x equal, this is 0, this is 22, right? 8 minus 6 is 2, 3 minus 1 is 2. So if the question were determine whether 22 is a solution of the equation, then it would be yes. So the correct solution should be 22, but in this case we just have to say no. Subtract the following. Anytime we have a minus, that's going to change the problem to plus 7, and this becomes 13. Final answer is 13. So minus, I always assume the parentheses as a multiplication operation, so I would say minus times minus, and that would give me a plus. So if you want to remember this, assume that the parentheses is like multiplication, so minus times minus is plus. So this is what we do all the time when we have to distribute, right? we always multiply. So think about this minus minus as if it were multiplication, and then change it to addition and get the final answer 13. Solve the following equation. Now, we can start by distributing. So to solve this equation, I want first to simplify those parentheses. So let's start by distributing those 6 and 2. 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times 20 is 40. See, there is a plus here symbol, so I use that plus to add. So I remove the parentheses from the left side. 2 times 5 is 10x. 2 times 20 is 40. Equals. Let's remove the parentheses on the right side. 6 times 2 is 12x. 6 times 4 is 24. Everything is positive, so let's make sure we have addition everywhere. So plus 24. Okay? So now I'm going to try to move this to the left and move this to the right. That way I have the x on one side, the constants on the other side. So to move a number to the left side, in this case, I'm going to subtract 12x. To move 40 to the right, I'm going to subtract 40. So I just add the opposite. But if I add negative 12x on this side, I have to add negative 12x also on this side. If I add negative 40 on this side, I have to add also negative 40 on this side. That way I don't change the problem. Whatever you add on the left side, you got to add on the right side. Whatever you add on the right side, you got to add on the left side. 10 minus 12. So 10 apples minus 12 apples is negative 2 apples, or x. These will cancel. These will cancel. So we have 24 minus 40 is negative 16. So this is called addition principle. So what I did here is called the addition principle, since I added the same numbers to both sides of the equation, right? Principle. Here we're going to divide both sides by this number, which is negative 2, so isolate x, and this is called the multiplication principle. Okay? Called the multiplication principle. Okay. Alright, so you divide negative 2 by negative 2, it will cancel, you end up with x. But negative divided by negative 16 over negative 2 is 8. So 8 is the final answer. If you have time on the test, you can go back and check. 2 times 5, instead of x you put 8 plus 20. Is it equal to 6 times 2 times 8 plus 4? So here we have a 40 plus 20. 40 plus 20 is 60. 60 times 2 is 120. Here we have 16 plus 4. That's 20. And 20 times 6 is 120. Since 120 equals 120, we have checked, and the solution would be the first one. X is equal to 8. Okay? Let's go to the next question. Solve. 11 is 30% of what number? So this is 11 is 30% of what number? So we gotta change this word problem to an algebraic equation. So 11 will stay 11. Is will change to equal symbol. 30% will change to 0.3, because when we change a percent to decimal, we divide by 100. Of change to multiplication. What number is the variable x? Okay? So look how easy it is. You just change the letter or the word problem to an algebraic equation. 11 equal 0.3 times x. And now, since we have a multiplication here, we cannot use the addition principle. We're going to use the multiplication principle and divide both sides by 0.3. Let's divide both sides by 0.3. So on the left side here, the 0.3 will cancel, so we just have x. On the right side, we have 11 over 0.3. Now, I don't like to divide by decimal, so let me change this to a whole number. Multiply up and down by 10. If you multiply up and down by 10, you don't change the fraction because 10 over 10 is 1. But you end up with 110 over 3. Now, since they want the answer in a mixed number notation, we can go ahead and divide. 1110 divided by 3. 11 by 3 is 3. 3 times 3, 9. Subtract 2. Bring down the 0, 20. 20 divided by 3 is 6. 6 times 3, 18. And the remainder is 2. So we stop here. We use all these numbers to build our mixed number. So the mixed number would be the quotient, 36, and the remainder over the divisor. Okay? So the 3 comes from here, the 2 comes from here, and the 36 comes from here. So this is the final answer. 110 divided by 3 is 36 and 2/3. Alright, let's move to the next question. The expression for figuring a student's average test score is P over T. So we have a formula, it's P over T, where P is the total points. So make sure to write the formula, understand the formula. The T is number of tests. Number of tests. So here we have an example. Students average when 544 points, so P equals 544, and the number of tests are 8. So 54 by 8 is 6. 6 times 8, 48. Okay, let's divide. 544 divided by 8. Okay, so we have, 6 times 8, 48. The remainder is 6. 64 divided by 8 is 8. 8 times 8, 64, and the remainder is 0. So here we have a 68 as the final answer. So the overall average of the student is 68%. Determine whether 4 is the solution of the equation. Remember, we did the same thing. We have to take the 14, substitute for x. 14 divided by 7 equals 2, does not equal to 4, and therefore we're going to say no. So 14 over 7 is equal to 2, right? It's not equal to 4, so these two are not equal. For x equals 14. And therefore, is 14 a solution? We're going to say no. Translate to an algebraic expression. 13 more is addition. Q, final answer. So all we have to learn here is that more than is addition. 13 more than Q. More means addition. 13 plus Q. Let's solve this linear equation. 6x plus 6 equals 24. Always start by the addition principle. Add -6 to both sides. So here we have 6x. These will cancel because -6 plus 6 is 0. 24 minus 6 is 18. Now we're going to use the multiplication principle. Divide both sides by 6. So x equals 18 divided by 6 is 3. You can check your work by substituting x equals 3. 6 times 3 plus 6. 18 plus 6 is 24. So that's a check. So the answer is 3. Write 1/2 as a decimal. 1/2 is 0.5. We can do the division also. Since 1 is smaller than 2, move the decimal up here, add a 0. Right? 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 2, 10, 0. So this is 0.5. Round to 4 decimal places as needed. We don't need to do that. It's just 0.5. Evaluate. We're given M65. We're given N2. So all we have to do is substitute 65 minus 2 over 9. We start by Subtracting 65 minus 2 is 63. 63 divided by 9 is 7. Find an answer. Solve for the indicated letter. So same thing we did with the other problem. We have to solve for y, so we need to isolate y by itself. We have to move the c and then move the minus sign. How do we move the c? Use the addition principle, subtract c from both sides. C minus c is 0, so we have z minus c equals negative y. Now we don't want negative y, we want y. So let's multiply both sides by negative 1. So negative times negative on the right side becomes y. On the left side, negative 1 times z is negative z. Negative 1 times negative c, negative times negative is positive c. Find an answer. So y equals negative z plus c. Write the fraction as a decimal. We just did this one, but now we have to keep the minus sign, minus 0.5 or minus 0.5. Either way should be correct. So either negative 0.5 or negative 0.5. Simplify. 475 over 600. Since this ends with a 0 and this ends with a 5, they're both divisible by 5. Let's start by dividing by 5. Now if you see that it is divisible by 25, then it's even better. You know that 475, if you think about quarter, 475, it's 19 quarters. And 600 is 24 quarters. If you can figure it out this way, you're done. You can do it in one step. If not, let's divide by 5. So 47 by 5 is 9. And then the remainder is 2 because 9 times 5, 45. The remainder is 2. So 25 divided by 5 would be 5. In here, divide by 5. 6 by 5 is 1, remainder 1. 10 by 5 is 2, remainder 0. 0 by 5 is 0. So we can also divide by 5 here. 9 by 5 is 1, remainder 4. 45 by 5 is 9. 12 by 5 is 2, remainder 2. 20 by 5 is 4. So 19 is a prime number, and 24 is divisible by 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. Nothing in common, so we have to leave this as the final answer. You can also, if you don't like the way I did it, you can use the 475 divided by 5, right? So that's going to be 9. 9 times 5, 45. Remainder is 2. Bring down the 5. 25 by 5 is 5. 5 times 5, 25. 0. That's how we got the 95. 600 divided by 5. 6 by 5 is 1. Remainder is 1. Bring down the 0. 10 by 5 is 2. 2 times 5, 10. Remainder is 0. Bring down the 0. And 0 divided by 5 is 0. And then you do the same thing. 95, you divide by 5 again. That's a 1. Remainder is 4. Bring down the 5. 45 divided by 5 is 19. That's how we got the 19. And also 120 divided by 5. 2 times 5, 10. Remainder is 2. Bring down the 0. 20 by 5 is 4. And that's how we got the 24. So the final answer is 19 over 24. In 2005, about 5 billion gallons of renewable fuels such as ethanol and other biofuels were used in the United States. So in 2005 we had 5 billion gallons. The energy law passed in 2007 requires that 35 billion gallons of such fuels be used by 2021. What is the percent of increase? So to find the percent of increase, we need to find the change, which is 35 minus 5, and then divide by the original 5, finally multiply by 100%. Okay? So to find the percent of increase, we need to find the changes. We went from 5 to 35 billion, so the change is 30, and divide by the original consumption, which is 5, and then multiply by 100%, and therefore 35 by 5. I'm sorry, 30 by 5 is 6. 6 times 100% is 600%. Okay? And that's the final answer. Let's subtract. Remember, like signs, we add. Let's remember this rule. Like signs. We add and save the sign. We add and save the sign. So in this case, we have like signs. This is negative, this is negative. What is 6 plus 9? 15. Let's save the sign. Negative 15. So the answer is negative 15. Think about spending. You spend $6 and then you spend $9. Your total spending is $15, but it should be, since you're spending, that means you're losing the money. That's why it's negative. Substitute to find a value for the expression. We're going to find the value of the area of a triangle with base equals 19, height equals 18. So let's go ahead and find the area. A is 1/2. The base is given to be 19 meters. And the height is given to 18 meters. So remember that these are all over 1. And 2 is in the denominator, and 18 and 2 are both divisible by 2. And so the answer would be 9 times 19, 9 times 9, 81, 9 times 1, 9, and 8, 17, and this is square meters. So this would be the area of the triangle. You can also multiply straight across, right, and then divide by 2. So either way should give you the same answer. So this is 18. If you want to multiply 19 times 18 and then divide by 2, you should also get the same answer, 171. So either way should bring the answer 171. Solve using the multiplication principle. Remember, we have x over 3 equals negative 6. If the question was 3x equals negative 6, I would divide both sides by 3 and get x equals negative 2. Because 3 is already in the denominator, I cannot divide both sides by 3. I have to multiply both sides by 3. By doing this, the 3 will cancel. And so I have x equals negative 18. Final answer. You can check by substituting 18 here. Negative 18 over 3 is negative 6, which is the actual answer. So that's check. So x would be negative 18 as the final answer. Okay, the last question is solve 6.5x minus 2.8 equals 5.2 minus 3.5x. Again, this is a solving equation. I want to move the x to one side. I want to move the constant. So to move this negative 3.5 to the left side, I need to add the opposite, which is plus 3.5x. Very simple. To move the number to the right, I need to add the opposite, which is 2.8. So I like the way of moving the x to one side, moving the constants to the right side. Because I added 2.8 here, I have to add 2.8 here. Because I add 3.5x here, I have to add 3.5x here. So you have to be consistent by adding the same number to both sides, otherwise the equation will change. And this is called the addition principle. You add the same number to both sides of the equation. It's called the addition principle. So 6.5 plus 3.5 is 0, 10. Bring down the decimal. 10x. These two will cancel. These two will cancel. 5.2 plus 2.8 is 8 plus 2, 10, 0, carry 1. 3 plus 5, 8. So here we have 10x equals 8. We want x, right? We don't want 10x. So let's use the multiplication principle. Divide both sides by 10. Now the decimal is here. When you divide by 10, you move the decimal one digit to the left, and the final answer would be 0.8. Type an integer or decimal. So 0.8 would be the final answer.